Everything in your daily life is getting more expensive, and you can feel it every time you step outside your home. Groceries cost more than they did last month. Rent increases almost every year. Electricity bills rise. Fuel prices jump without warning. Healthcare becomes costlier, and even basic household items that you used to buy without thinking now strain your budget. But while everything else rises, your salary remains stuck, barely moving, as if frozen in time. And even when you do get a raise, it often feels like a joke 2%, maybe 3%, and then it disappears instantly when you face a 10% increase in food prices, 15% in fuel, or a sudden jump in rent. This is not your imagination. This is not your personal failure. This is a global pattern affecting millions of people across countries like the United States, India, the United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, Australia, and more. What you are experiencing is the widening gap between earnings and the cost of survival, a phenomenon economists call declining real wages. And it is happening everywhere. Since 2021, the world has entered one of the most intense inflationary periods in modern history. After the pandemic, supply chains collapsed, factories shut down, shipping costs skyrocketed, and energy markets got disrupted. These pressures triggered inflation levels not seen in decades. Many countries recorded annual inflation between 7 and 12%. Food inflation in some regions reached 15 to 20%. Energy prices soared even higher, especially after the Russia-Ukraine conflict disrupted oil and gas supply lines. According to multiple global labor studies, real wages, meaning wages adjusted for inflation, declined in most countries for the first time in more than 20 years. Even in wealthy nations, salaries could not keep pace with rapidly rising prices. Workers around the world were officially earning more on paper, but that money had less buying power than before. In simple terms, people were getting poorer while working the same jobs. Inflation was rising like a runaway train, and wages were crawling slowly behind, unable to catch up. The reason your salary is not increasing along with prices is because modern salaries are not directly tied to inflation. They are tied to your employer's priorities, the labor market around you, corporate competition, and economic structures that often work against the average person. Many employers do not raise salaries simply because prices rise. They only increase wages when competition for workers forces them to. If they can find cheaper labor, outsource the work, automate tasks, or pressure existing workers to do more for the same pay, they will. This is not personal. It is structural. The system is designed so that wage growth is treated as a cost to be minimized, not an investment in people. As a result, companies often keep wages low even in periods of high inflation, because raising salaries cuts into profits. Meanwhile, essential expenses like rent, food, and fuel rise independently, because those sectors respond to global markets rather than your personal paycheck. Historically, things were different. In the mid-20th century, wages and productivity moved together. When workers produced more, companies earned more, and wages grew in proportion. This helped build the middle class in many countries. But around the 1980s, wages stopped following productivity. Economists call this the wage productivity gap. From that point onward, workers continued producing more, but the financial benefits of that extra productivity flowed mostly to company owners, shareholders, and executives instead of employees. Over the past 40 years, worker productivity in many countries increased by 50 to 60% or more, while median wages rose less than 20%. This means workers are contributing far more to the economy, but receiving a smaller share of the value they create. The result is wage stagnation, silent crisis that has been building for decades, but only becomes visible during inflationary shocks like the one we are living through now. Another major reason salaries stay flat is globalization. Over several decades, companies discovered they could reduce labor costs by moving factories, call centers, IT services, and even manufacturing jobs to countries with lower wages. This shift weakened the bargaining power of workers in higher-income countries, because employers could always threaten relocation if wage demands increased. At the same time, in many developing countries, domestic labor markets remained oversaturated, meaning workers could be replaced easily, keeping wages low there as well. The result was a global race to the bottom, where workers from different countries unintentionally competed against each other for the lowest acceptable wage. This competition kept salaries stagnant for millions of workers worldwide, even as corporate profits grew. When inflation rises in such an environment, salaries struggle to keep up because the global labor market is still rich in supply, giving employers more leverage than workers. Technology adds another layer to the problem. Automation, artificial intelligence, robotics, and digital tools have replaced millions of jobs or drastically reduced the number of workers needed in certain industries. In retail, self-checkout machines reduce staff. In banking, apps and online systems replace branch employees. In manufacturing, robots can perform repetitive tasks faster and cheaper. In customer service, chatbots and automated systems reduce call center staff. When technology replaces labor, wages stagnate because the demand for human workers weakens. Companies do not feel pressure to raise salaries when machines can do the job, or when a smaller number of workers can handle what once required many. Even when technology creates new jobs, they often require specialized skills that many workers cannot access easily. This mismatch widens the gap between high-income earners and everyone else. As a result, technological progress increases efficiency and profits, but not wages. While wages stagnate, prices continue rising because essentials respond to global forces, not local salaries. Food becomes expensive when global fertilizer prices rise, when droughts reduce harvests, when shipping costs increase, or when geopolitical events disrupt supply. Electric bills increase when fuel costs rise, or when energy companies adjust supply. Housing costs rise because of population growth, limited land, high construction costs, and real estate speculation. Healthcare becomes expensive due to demand, limited capacity, and corporate pricing strategies. All these factors push prices upward, but salaries do not automatically rise to match them. Employers adjust wages slowly, cautiously, and often only under competitive pressure. This creates a real-world gap. The cost of living rises continuously, while salary adjustments happen slowly, rarely keeping up. This is why even small inflation feels massive, because your wages are not rising at the same speed as your expenses. Another uncomfortable truth is that corporate profits play a major role in modern inflation. In many industries, companies increased prices beyond their actual cost increases. This phenomenon is often called greedflation or profit-driven inflation. As supply chain problems and global uncertainty gave companies an excuse to raise prices, many discovered they could increase profit margins without losing customers. Studies in multiple countries showed that corporate profits were responsible for a significant portion of the inflation spike between 2021 and 2023. While consumers struggled, many corporations reported record-breaking earnings. Meanwhile, wages barely moved. This is because salary increases reduce profit margins, while price increases raise them. Companies are financially rewarded for raising prices, but penalized for raising wages. As long as this incentive structure exists, prices will rise faster than salaries, especially during times of global instability. This imbalance has serious consequences for families and society. When wages fall behind prices, purchasing power shrinks. People cut back on savings, delay major decisions like buying a home, reduce healthcare spending, and often turn to debt to maintain their lifestyle. Credit card debt rises. Loans become harder to repay. Emergency savings disappear. Young adults struggle to achieve financial independence. Middle-aged families feel trapped in endless bills, and older generations watch their pensions erode. Over time, this creates frustration, inequality, and social tension. Historically, periods where wages fail to keep up with inflation often lead to political movements, economic reforms, protests, or shifts in national policies. We saw this after the 1970s oil crisis. We saw it during the Great Depression. And now, once again, the world is entering a phase of economic stress where people feel unheard, underpaid, and overwhelmed by the rising cost of simply existing. So why is everything getting more expensive, except your salary? Because modern economic systems allow prices to rise quickly, but wages only rise slowly. Because globalization weakened workers' bargaining power. Because technology replaced jobs faster than workers could adapt. Because productivity gains went to corporations, not employees. Because profit-driven inflation gave companies incentives to raise prices, but not wages. And because the cost of essentials is shaped by global events beyond your control. But understanding this system is the first step toward protecting yourself in it. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a like, share it with someone who needs to understand why their salary feels smaller every year, and subscribe to Retro Finance Files for more deep, factual, dramatic stories about the history and mechanics of money. Your support helps us continue creating content that reveals the financial forces shaping your life. Thank you for watching, and stay informed, because knowledge is your strongest financial weapon.